I started making games when I was 11 years old. Me and my best friend made games every weekend, every moment we had. But at that time it was just a hobby. And then I realized you could make it professionally and decided to study at university video games making. Before I was done with the university, I'd launched my first successful title. Well, I left university and never looked back. So I really come from development from the start, you know, making everything in the game. I worked on every single part of development, from level design. I've been coding, I've been making tools, I've been making animation, 2D, 3D, concept art, design. That's sort of just how it was when you were a small studio. You had to be doing everything, and from there, over time, I've ended up doing more and more management, leading teams, and that's today. Of course, today my job is leading the global group of EG7 in video games. But I do think that the good thing with my background is I really truly understand gamers in the way that I still play games, and I grew up in the video games community. You know, I played shooters like Counter-Strike, I played Warcraft 3, I played Dota when it came out, the first versions of it, even before it was called Dota. I played Total War. I spent probably 1,000 hours in one campaign. But today, the latest game that I'm playing, very much I've been enjoying, is Mountain Blade. It's been really fun to dig into that game. This video specifically, I wanted to give, you know, of course we talk a little bit about me, my background as a CEO and so on, but it's really an idea of talking more about this detail to a community that's now very engaged with us around all the different games that is in this group. What are you guys doing, right? So I think it's important to understand how are we related to all of these things. We're buying companies, that's probably what most people know. Okay, EG7 bought Daybreak, you know, what does that actually mean? Well, so EG7 is really sort of an investment company. You can see us as, you know, we have a management layer of people that focuses on video games companies. We're buying these companies, adding them into a group of companies where there are several, both studios and publishing and marketing. And then we are trying to make these companies better. We're trying to help them improve in areas where we think that we can create value. So it's both the fact that we have all these resources that we can give these companies to improve, we can invest into the companies, or we can leverage IP in different ways between the group companies and all the talent, have publishing resources and so on. And then we also bring in ownership from those people who own the different companies into the main group so that they have incentive to really help out and drive. So we're a public entity, but we're really trying to balance this, the different things that, you know, and it comes a lot from the vision that I had originally was together with the team that founded the company, was really trying to balance making sure that developers are incentivized, that you really treat your community well, but also that you are a good vehicle for investors, because otherwise, you know, it's not going to work out. You're not going to be allowed by the public markets to keep being a CEO of the company if you can't manage that side either. You know, this is an investment to them. It matters to them where, you know, what kind of profits the company can eventually give back to them. But what I think can really be balanced is also saying, okay, yes, but to be able to achieve that, we can achieve better for the community, we can achieve better for the developers, and we can try to balance all of these to create a long-term growing company that delivers really well back to those people who love these games. But we don't build the games ourselves, right? So that's very important to understand. We own these companies and we talk to their management, and we have a lot of power, of course, because we own the companies. But we really want the development team to enable the development team to improve. And I think that's really important to understand. So we think about, of course, we want the consumers to be pleased with what's going on, but we don't have the actual resources to go in and develop. Those resources we create within the developer. So we can say to the developer, okay, we think that this isn't working, and we can help them get resources to fix problems and push them in directions from a owner. So think of us as an owner of companies like Daybreak or Innova or any of these companies, Piranha. We're the owner of that company, and as an owner we have interest in how the company operates, how the IP is handled, how the community is treated. And that's sort of the way we interface with these companies. So I think that's a key thing to understand. We think though that one of the things that one should be excited about around EG7 engaging with these companies is this philosophy that we also have one of our core drivers is also community. So does that mean that everything we do instantly is going to fix all the problems? No, it takes time. You know, we have to work over time, and we're constantly pushing the different companies and teams on how to get there. But it is one of the key aspects that we measure success in, and that we believe over time will really deliver for those who play the games. Daybreak is of course one of the things that people have the most questions about, and I think it's very, very easy to understand why. Of course, you know, EverQuest has been running live for 22 years now, which is amazing. I played EverQuest myself, you know, when I was, I think the first time when I was 16, which is crazy. But I think to understand what's going on is that we acquired Daybreak, and now we're interacting with them on a daily basis to see what are the things that we don't think work. And we know that there's a lot of issues. We've stated this before, there's a lot of things with the community that doesn't seem to be working. Communication is not always perfect, and I think that they understand that as well. But now we're trying to interface and say, hey, how can we fix this? Then there are other things, and I'm gonna bring up a specific example that I know that everyone who's watching this video really wants to get to. It's H1C1. What's going on with H1C1? Right? The truth of H1C1 is that there is no team working on the game. You know, it was almost sunset. And now it's been massive explosion around it because we said a few words around the fact that we have a team working on the code base. And I want to clarify that statement. What do we mean with working on the code base? And this is actually the EG7 team. The EG7 team, our technical guys, they've been evaluating the code base and looking into community and trying to figure out, because of course there was no team there, so the knowledge around the code base was very sparse. So it took a lot of the early year just putting everything in order. And now I can tell you we have running builds of Just Survive and early builds of the game and so on. You know, we have those things working. But from there, that's not the end answer to things. What we realized in taking that step, when we did this research, we talked to the community, was, okay, you know, a lot of people are saying they want pre-season 3. Some people don't want that. They want the new version of the game. You know, that version had a ton of bugs that are now fixed, but there were also changes that people didn't like. Some people, the most important thing to them is that we relaunched Just Survive. So where we are right now is that we've taken the time, we've looked through everything, we've seen where we are, we have understood the code base, which took a lot longer than people would imagine, as there weren't a lot of people who could give us the information, so we sort of had to do archaeology with our technical team, which is a very competent technical team. And what we've come up with is now the fact that, you know, we've taken that step. Now the future of H1C1, we're not going to tell you that it's launching tomorrow, because, and I'm sorry for that, it's not going to be that close. And I actually want to say to everyone who's playing it today, you're not going to see updates very short in time, you know, next month or 2 months from now into the game. And I think that's important. I know a lot of people are very, very much asking us for this, but it's not possible. There's no team there. It takes time to find a team. It takes time to re-engage them, and it also takes now time with all this information that we've gotten to make the right decision for the community. Because I think that in the past it has already been done before, where another team took over, it didn't work out, people were very frustrated, and I don't think anyone wants that. So what I'm saying here is trying to be very straight with everyone. You know, what are we thinking? Yes, we want to do more with H1C1 in some form. What is that more? You know, is that giving players access to the servers so that they can play this version and we'll do a new version? Is that we update these versions significantly so that they're not that buggy and broken, both with maybe Just Survive and pre-season 3 with the new updates or something like that? That we don't know yet. That we are in that phase of that making those choices and going down that road. But what we do want to know is from the community still, what are your preferences here? Because it's not very easy for us. You know, we have all these pieces together and we're now moving in that direction. And this is special. And the reason why H1C1 is a bit special, and I'm gonna transition to that now, is that because there is no team. So in this case, we are going to have to move it somewhere, right? And here is an example where EG7 steps in as an owner. We say, here's this brand that people love, with the game that people love, that we of course want to be treated well, but there's no one there steering it or doing it, or, you know, being in charge of it. Then we will try to find someone who can take that torch, and then we will leave the situation, and then you'll have to go to that that developer or that plays the community to talk to them. So I think that's very important to understand. With the other games of Daybreak, that's still the companies, and I wouldn't say Daybreak, and I think it's really the studios underneath that we focus on here, and that's things like Darkpaw, who's in charge of EverQuest. You have Rogue Planet, for example, which is in charge of PlanetSide. These are really the guys that we go to and think that should be in charge and are running these, and they are the right kind of passion for this. And there we're all about how can we help them improve. And then I'm not gonna say anything about the plans. I'm gonna let that up to them because they're running it, they're in charge. They have community managers, they have a team, they're extremely excited, but we are going to help them achieve more with the games. I think that's the best way of looking at it. So all of those games that are being run today with a development team that are very passionate, does that mean that we won't find any new people to work on new versions of the games? That's up for the future, but currently I think it's very important to understand the teams that are working on live games today. You should expect to go and ask them about things in the community management, and of course we care. So we engage with them when we things aren't moving in the right direction or community is maybe there's feedback, their negativity, their status. Those are things that we talk to the management team over there about. With H1Z1, we will come out and do a more final announcement, and I know that this might, a lot of people are still, oh, you've been going on for 4 months now, come on, what's going on? And they feel that this maybe is not the update that we're looking for, but this is the truth, right? And I think that that's very important. This is what's going on. And I much rather tell you what's going on than sit here and make just a story that I think a lot of companies do to gamers. I am hoping that you're taking this information in the way that I'm giving it to you and being responsible and understanding that we're trying to do this for the best of the game. Now, that we are trying to put this game forward in some way because we believe in the franchise and IP. But we aren't able to tell you exactly what's going to happen because we're still putting the pieces together. But one thing that we are looking at is finding voices in the community that we could talk to get an even better understanding. So that's something that we are looking for, and that we are going to reach out to the community asking specifically who are the strongest voices that you believe should have a say in the future of H1Z. So we've talked a lot about exactly how this communication thing is going. Now we've done a few Twitter things, especially around H1Z1, as that has sort of been a difficult position for us because there are no team, but we really want people to feel that their communication. I think that what you're going to see from us is maybe once every 6 months we will address the community from a corporate level. And then we will gather in all the questions that everyone has and sort of address them on camera like we've done today. But at the end of the day, the daily communication should really be with the developers and the people who run the games. But we can say that we're definitely going to communicate, and we're going to have a direct communication, which I think many corporate companies have decided to steer off. And I, as a gamer, think that that's not right. I think it's good to understand the corporate view of the company and the investment side and so on, and what we really believe and think, and what we're trying to achieve. I think that's I think it's very important. I think that one really have to understand that at the end of the day, there's a team, they're working on their thing, and we're sitting there, it's very engaged every day and looking at all of the game companies, and that's also have to be taken account. All of the company's games is something that we care about, which means, of course, that we, every day we're not just looking at one game and that one game's performance, but all of them, and then prioritizing on the things that we think we can help with and work on and improve. And if we're doing our job well, then you're going to see things improve going forward.